Welcome to another episode of the Skippy Report. On this episode, my guest is Jeremy Poulin, who's the young media guru for his family's business, Red Mill Maple Syrup, located just outside of Millbrook, Ontario. All right, so here we are with the Skippy Report, and I have a special guest. I have Jeremy Poulin from just up the road, just north of us, and his parents own Red Mill Maple Syrup. And so tell us who you are, man, because I know there are people here joining in tonight and they don't know your background and who you are.
Yeah, so I'm just a kid, really. But basically, so my dad, he's into maple syrup, and I kind of have that same passion. I'd say I have a different type of passion. Like my passion isn't really producing it. It's more of like telling our story and sharing our stories. I guess that's what I am. But who am I really? I'm a grade 12 student. I guess if that would be a society's label on me, it would be a grade 12 student. And but I don't really like to say I'm a grade 12 student, but I am. So but basically, I'm a kid that just loves to wake up every day and put smiles on people's faces and just do it through the maple syrup business. So,
well, it's kind of handy that we have COVID going on because you don't have to go to school and deal with all that stuff, right? And then come home and take care of all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So last week when you were doing your live session on Instagram, you were saying how you only have a philosophy course this term and a spare.
Yeah, I just have a spare and a philosophy course. So everybody knows, I think everybody who's taken philosophy that's older than me, I think they all know what a philosophy course is. So, yeah.
I know I'm old school guy. I'm bad guy. I would always tell my students, for people who don't know, I was an educator for 29 years. I think the hardest part of my life was 30 years of grade 8. And I would always say things and I'd say, I'm going to get in trouble. Punch me. So I'd have the kids punch me. And it's like, yeah, philosophy. I wonder what type of job you get with philosophy.
Historian, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be a really good historian you need to be a really good philosopher to become a historian and make money with it. But I mean, you know,
have to be a really good storyteller too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you really become interested in doing what you're doing as part of your parents' business?
I would say I started 3 years ago. Before that I was interested in stuff, but I wasn't really sharing it.
Right.
So, but 3 years ago I started this Instagram page, and I just my mom, she's really big on she likes Facebook and stuff, but my dad, he's not much of a social media guy. So I just said, let's document it and let's basically put it on Facebook and Instagram and see where it goes. And I did that 3 years ago. I started it.
Right.
And then, so for the past, I'd say the first 2 years, it was just sort of trial and error. You don't really know what people want or what they like and stuff.
Right.
And then this year I really started to put effort into it and kind of study my people. And then I realized, and then I just found a passion for this. So it's been about I think it's going to be a year, March 1st, that I've basically posted every single day for the last year. So
nice. That's awesome.
And I love it. It brings me joy to do it. So it's fun. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Well, you know what? Preparation is really, really important. I have some friends who are in the military and they're Marines. They're Royal Marines from England. And they have this saying is proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yep.
And you know what? Storytelling, whether you're doing Instagram stories or that sort of stuff, or I'm doing my podcast and here's the teacher and me, you know, I always do a little bit of research. I send out questions to the people I'm going to be interviewing, except the one guy I did this afternoon because he and I are pretty close and we have a lot in common. And, you know, so that especially, you know, people that I don't see very often or I don't consider you know, or maybe they're just acquaintances. And so I send the questions out, do the homework, and ask if you want to add anything to it to make sure we cover all the bases. So, yeah, it's really important. So any of my former students out there, I do practice what I preach, and it makes you much more successful. And it does in Jeremy's world, too, because if he's posting every day, you know, he's got some idea of what he wants to do.
I mean, I try to give more than what I take. Like,
yeah,
I always try to be like I always try to be in the community as much as possible. Like it's not about trying to basically. I'm just trying to just spread positivity, and I think that's what works for me. It's basically like I'm always replying to everybody, and that just brings me joy. Like it doesn't matter what kind of question it is, I'm just replying to everybody to whatever they ask. So it's just fun. I like doing it.
Well, and the thing is, you know, when you started this, I was trying to figure out, is he doing this for a school project? Because this would be an awesome school project, like in media class or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to help kids. You know, I would tell my students, don't throw your work away. You can recycle it. You might be a little older, so you have to make it more sophisticated. And you know what? Within 1 year, I had students who submitted work in September resubmit it later in the year, and I'm reading it going, I read this. This is a little different, though. And when I asked them, I said, did you do to me what I told you to do? And they're like, yep. I said, right on. That's what learning is all about.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about, you said mom, dad. Who else lives in the household?
Basically, I've got a brother, and I've got a sister, and then I've got a mom and a dad, right? And we're all together. And basically, like I'd say, the passion really came from my grandpa. Well, both my grandpas. My grandpa on my dad's side, he basically sold evaporators, and he made evaporators as well. He had a company for 8 years, and then he went. It didn't work out, but he has always been so passionate about that. And then on my mom's side, my other grandpa, basically he had like a little bush that had like 200 taps, and with his buddy, and he wouldn't do the boiling or anything. He would kind of be like me. He would just do the talking.
Right.
So so my mom's always been kind of like she's always been into the maple syrup, as well as my dad. I'd say my dad is more like he's more in depth into it.
Yeah.
My mom's just there to support us.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of hopped on and found a role, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. People don't know this, our listeners. We talked earlier this week to try and set things up, and Jeremy put me on to his dad because my family's from the eastern townships of Quebec. And Jeremy's dad, Sebastian, he's from just a little further northeast from the Beauce region. And so is your mom from Quebec also?
Yeah. They basically met here in Peterborough, but they're both. My mom is from a little town called Saint Clair, and then my dad is from Saint Victor.
Right.
So that's about so there's La Beauce, which is Saint Victor, and then there's my mom is from Belchef, so Saint Clair. So it's like an hour away, but they actually met over here, which is pretty ironic. So when we go there, we're only like an hour away from both grandparents, so it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you and I met because I found you on Instagram, I guess, and you're doing maple syrup, and you were doing this really cool product, your rye barrel aged maple syrup, and you're doing bourbon barrel maple syrup this year.
Yeah. Just got the labels.
Oh, right
mail,
on.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, who comes up with the ideas for these products?
Oh, who comes up with the ideas? Honestly, I'd say it'd be like my dad and myself. For the cinnamon, in 2021, you don't really invent anything new. Honestly, everything's been invented before. It's just sort of like adding your little twist to it. So like a lot of people ask us, the rye barrel aged maple syrup, are you guys the only ones that do it? But like in the States, if you search it up, like you'll find a bunch of people in the States. There's a couple people in Ontario that do it as well, but We're the only ones. Like I think the closest one would be, other than us, would be, I think there's one guy in Prince Edward County that does it. I think Kinsett does it.
Right.
He does a whiskey barrel age.
Right.
So I don't know if it's bourbon or rye, but it's something whiskey.
Yeah.
So the rye one, my dad came up with that one.
Okay.
Last year he just came in the door with a rye barrel in his hands, just a little 50 liter.
Yeah.
And he was like, let's just try it out. So we tried it out. We put like 50 liters of dark syrup in there. And we did like a super quick, like kind of like a speed run batch. And yeah, it tasted good. So we sold it. And yeah,
nice.
That's how the first like little twist on maple syrup kind of started. And then we kind of got addicted to doing like little twists. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know what, when you were talking about searching things out, that's the key to being a good teacher.
Yeah.
You know what? You beg, borrow, and steal, and just tweak stuff to your class or your clientele, and improve on things, and then make it available for other people. So it's kind of the same thing that you're doing with your maple syrup.
Yeah, like in 2021, you don't unless you're the 2021 Albert Einstein. It's really hard to come up with something completely new to the world. So.
You know what? When you say that, I'm always thinking. Sebastian, Jeremy's dad, is a carpenter, and I'm a carpenter also. And I've been doing some work, and a buddy of mine, we were doing some plumbing, and we were using the new PEX system, and the clamp that he had, or the tool to tighten the clamps around the fittings, was absolutely brutal. I have big hands, and I had a hard time running that tool. And when I was in his shop the other day, I saw a pair of pliers or channel locks, and they were set up like pliers. I was like, Ernie, this is what we need. We have to adapt this. And he's like, okay, you figure it out, and then we'll be partners. You can have that tool to figure it out, So.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're always thinking new stuff. Just for instance, like Cuban cigar infused maple syrup. That would be pretty cool. I searched it up.
Really?
On Google. I didn't find anybody that does Cuban cigar infused maple syrup. So
really,
that'd be something. I don't know how we would make it. Like, I don't know if there would be any like legal issues with that. But if we could find a way to do like a because we're gonna have a bourbon barrel age, and then we have a rye barrel age. So I mean, kind of going into that like flavor path, like a Cuban cigar infused maple syrup just sounds pretty good. I mean, I don't smoke cigars,
right?
But I don't know. The smell of it and the maple would be pretty good.
Well, so. You know what? There's a lot of people who I know. My wife, Sean, is like this. She loves the smell of pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you're talking about smoky stuff, I have a friend out in the Caledon area, and he makes maple syrup. He makes it on an open fire, and his specialty is it's like really smoky, so it kind of tastes like hickory sticks infused in the maple syrup. So So
I had my dad's buddy. He's also in Saint Victor, and he sent us some applewood smoke. He tried to do
nice.
Rum and applewood smoked maple syrup. We tried it. I mean, it's definitely for a distinct person with a distinct taste, that's for sure. But
right.
It's got like, with smoke, you really need to like control it, right? Like,
yes.
Like you don't want to like smoke and ruin something real quick. Like
easily.
You can overpower something. So that's what we've been thinking of, like doing like we could maybe try to like smoke the bourbon barrel aged maple syrup.
Right.
Obviously, like there's different ways to do it. Like you could do like smoke, like put it in a smoker. I think maybe like put your maple syrup in like a big tea bag and then put it in a smoker and it would smoke.
Yeah.
Or like obviously you could shortcut it with like liquid smoke.
Right.
I don't really believe in that.
Yeah. Not as authentic.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you get old. People don't usually see me doing this because my glasses, I don't need glasses to read, but my glasses that I have for distance interfere with my reading. So let's see. What do we have here? I think you've covered most of it. So how long has your family had the Maple Bush, which is kind of southeast of Millbrook here in, you're in Peterborough County, right? Which is just right north of Northumberland County. I'm down here in Port Hope on the shore of Lake Ontario. And you're 30 minutes
so
northeast of me.
yeah, so basically, when did he get it? So we bought the house here, so it was just a house before.
Right.
And we got it in 2011. And then basically, my dad, it's the thing is, like, if you go in Quebec, Saint-Victor area and like La Beauce,
Yep.
like you're gonna go down the street and like if there's maple trees on a property, you're gonna be surprised if they're not tapped.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna be really surprised if you go by like a street full of maple trees and like there's a couple properties that aren't tapped. Like that's really surprising. So when we bought this place, he was like, why wasn't it tapped beforehand?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we just tapped it, and we've been doing it since. I think he tapped the first trees. I think he tapped like 200 of our trees, like in 2014.
Right.
And then after that year, he was like, "Well, might as well tap all of them, right? Like, let's go all in and tap. Like, it's not even going really all in because it's only 1,000 trees, but let's might as well use the whole property."
Right.
And basically, so we tapped the 1,000 trees, and now we've got 1,000 taps here.
Nice.
So we've had it for like 10 years now, I think.
Okay. Now, and do you have any buckets? It's all pipeline, pretty much, right?
It's all pipelines, but we have around the house, like the trees that aren't tapped, we do buckets. So
right.
when people like come by or whatever, like they like, let's say we do like an open house or something, we'll do like we'll like tap a couple trees with buckets. But yeah, like we have about like I'd say like 20 trees that aren't tapped, and we just tap them with buckets.
Right.
So
right. I can see some more. I can see some more of my former students on there. I see Abby Tino.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be. You'll see her in the Olympics in swimming one day. She is a monster in the pool.
Yeah. Really, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. So, yeah. So that's the same sort of thing. One of the things that the listeners won't know, except for former students, they'll know about my history in maple syrup and that sort of stuff. So Jeremy and I and Sebastian were talking about it, and when I saw a post on your Instagram stories yesterday, it was really interesting to see what your pipeline looked like, because the pump is way different than the last time I worked in a bush. My daughter who's 28, I think she may have been 4 years old. So that was 24 years ago. Well, no, I guess no. I worked in a bush in a friend's small bush last year, helped them out, and so yeah, it's a lot different because we would have these big galvanized holding tanks or stainless steel holding tanks, and there was an actual pump, and it would create a vacuum and suck everything out of the tree. But that's a pretty cool pump that you have there. That's clear, and everything seems to come down into the pump house.
Yeah, that's just I think that's just called the extractor. It's the extractor. So basically, like, if you just like everything is like, because it's our bush is like gravity.
Yeah.
It's like the pumping station is at the bottom of the property.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of like angled towards the bottom of the property, like so that it just gravity would do it. And then we obviously have a vacuum pump as well. But yeah, all the sap comes down and goes through the extractor, and then it's just something really cool to see. You hear the suction noise and stuff.
Yeah. So hey, I was also looking at you getting a sap shower when you were out in the lines and the squirrels, because I know Uncle Edwin, he always said he made a deal with the squirrels that he wouldn't kill them if they didn't chew the lines. They were always chewing the lines, so we would spend like a good week walking through the bush in snowshoes or whatever. But what we would do is we'd run the vacuum so we could hear all the holes.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
You do the same thing too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yesterday my dad was pissed when he came back from work, and so I shut down the vacuum pump at like, he called me at 3 to go shut down the vacuum pump because it was literally almost overflowing. So I just shut down the pump. And then he said, let's turn it back on. And then we just, behind our little shed, like in the story, you just see the sap gushing out.
Oh, no way.
2 holes. Yeah. So he's like, he comes to get me in the house, and he's like, Jeremy, you need to get out here. This is good content. So I get out there and I'm like, I was surprised myself. Like, I never seen that. Honestly, the only time, like, when my dad brings me, like, when we walk around the bush and you just hear, like, the little, like, the sound, like, of the air escaping.
That's right, yeah.
But I never saw it, like, because that's a hole in our main line, right?
Right.
That's our return line, the black line. So there was 2 holes in the black line, which is our return line. That's why it was so, like, powerful. If there would have been a hole in, like, the little, the 5/16 lines, like the little
latex lines,
ones.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have done anything because it's on like a main line. It's a
that's
line,
a gusher, man.
Gushing out. Yeah,
hey, I see my buddy of mine who does a podcast down out of Ellicottville, New York. Mr. Adam X. Hey, Adam, welcome. Anyways, let's get back to our lines here. Yeah, right. You know what? I never had huge gushers like that into the big lines.
Oh, I was surprised. I was like, and then I turned it on, and then I just went back inside, and then my dad's just like, well, you need to go back to the pumping station to turn it off. I need to go fix it.
Right.
I'm like, and then I got a bunch of messages yesterday, like just the phone was dinging because people were like, I hope you guys aren't like losing so much of the sap and stuff. I'm like, well, I guess that's what it is, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot more sap to come from where that came from. Yeah.
Honestly, it's pretty early for the sap to start running, to be honest. Like, this is really early.
Well, I figured yesterday, when I got up yesterday and I saw the temperature, I'm not exactly sure if it went below freezing during the night, because when I got up early, it's usually around 6:30, it was already 1 degree Celsius. I said, yep, the sap's going to run today. And then this morning when I got up, I was like, I don't think it's going to run. And then I saw your post. It's like, yeah, it's not running today.
No, it was like it was chilly today. Yesterday it was nice and warm, but no, it was chilly today. So
and you know what? When we were talking about pipelines and buckets, that's one thing that you miss when you have all pipeline is the ting 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 of the into the empty buckets. I always love being in the bush and listening to that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's just like it's just like if you should before you go to bed tonight, you should go on YouTube and put like sugar bush like bucket sound compilation, and then just hear that and just fall asleep doing that. That would be pretty cool.
That mesmerizing for you people who have sleep deprivation problems. Go get yourself a glass of hot milk and put some maple syrup in it and go to bed and listen to the drips of sap into tin buckets.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with buckets though is you can if you do a whole season, like a whole 2 months with buckets, and you have lots of buckets, like you don't even need to go to the gym anymore.
No,
like, you're just carrying them around.
Yeah. Because if I can remember, like a gallon of water weighs 9.9 pounds, and so we just say 10 pounds. But I think like a gallon of sap weighs about 12 or 13 pounds because of the density of the sugar in it. So for people who have never been involved, old school, you got a couple of 5-gallon buckets, you're trudging around the bush, dumping the buckets from the trees into your 5-gallon buckets, hauling them back to either a tractor-pulled trailer or wagon or a horse-pulled wagon, and doing that thousands and thousands of times, tens of thousands of times during the 2-month period. And people wonder why maple syrup costs so much.
Yeah.
You know, like you have wood-fired arches, so you've got to cut down the trees, split them, stack them the year before, right, so they get seasoned. And then you've got to get out there and, you're not putting in buckets. You're using the lines, but you still have to go trudge through the bush, drill everything, put the taps in, fix the pipeline. It's
you also don't follow a normal work schedule. Like, you follow nature, right? So let's say you need to
well, go ahead. Let's
say like with maple syrup, like you're not following, like you're not like, oh, every day 9 to 5 I'm working. No, it's like the sap could start running at like 12, and then you just have enough sap to boil, and it's like 5 p.m. and then you boil from 5 till midnight, and that's your day right there. And you go to bed, and then you do it again the next day. And it's only 2 months in a year, so that's why if maple syrup would be probably like if we would be able to make it like 12 months in a whole year, then it would be super cheap. But because it's only 2 months as well, like you only have like a little time frame, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, for sure. And when you're talking about extending the season, my buddy, who I did the podcast with down in Vermont today, he's a maple syrup snob because Vermont's a gigantic producer like Quebec is. And, we were talking about how in northeastern North America, that's really the only place you get maple syrup. Nowhere else in the world do you get maple syrup. So, it's a pretty special product that we have here. And thankful that the indigenous people shared it with us.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. Like, I don't know if it was an accident or, I don't know how they came up with it, but I guess that's how I should research that. But
that would be a really cool thing because cool. I used to sell cedar strip canoes when I was a kid, and I sold it for an indigenous group just north of Quebec City, Village des Hérons, and how they determined to bend cedar, steam cedar, so that they could make the ribs and that sort of stuff, and then use the actual birch bark and the pitch from spruce trees and pine trees, and ingenious.
Yeah.
And then when the white immigrants and explorers came here and they were here in the spring, they'd see them boiling up these big vats of sap on open fires.
I don't know how it actually, like maybe they like cut down a tree and they saw that there was sap, and then they boiled it because they wanted drinking water, and then they saw that it could like concentrate in something sugary. I have no clue.
Yeah. I think that
it's pretty cool though.
If you find out before me, let me know, and I'll dig into it.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, I need to do a quick little Google search.
Yeah.
I think that's what I have to do after this.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So we were talking about the day. Describe the for people who don't know. I'm going to put this as a sports analogy. It's kind of like in football, the hurry up offense. You got last 2 minutes because you prepare, you wait for Mother Nature, and then the sap starts dripping, and then you got to go all out, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? And you have to have weather where it freezes at night and then goes a little bit above freezing during the day.
Okay, so like a normal day as a producer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so wake up from a good night's sleep, and then usually you go check on the pumping station to see if it was if it like ran that night, right?
Right.
Usually you just know by the weather, but you still go check on it. And then our pump is like automatic, so it just basically switches on automatically when it goes. I think it's above zero. It just starts going.
Right.
So you don't really need to worry about that. The only thing you really need to worry about is basically once the tank is filled at the bottom of the pumping station, let's say the tank is like almost overflowing, then you turn on a pump and then you pump it up in your return line back to the shack in our tanks back there. I think we have 4 tanks now.
Right.
Just to give us more time, like just to buy us time. That's why we have. My dad bought another tank this year too, because it's nature, right? Like, he's like, sometimes you just boil until like midnight, but if you have another tank, you can keep it, and then you're like, oh, I'll end at like 9, and then I can use that water, like use that sap for the next day.
Right.
But basically, you go check on the pumping station, make sure that's all good. My dad almost every day he goes around the bush, right, and you hear like the little sound, like the little suction sound, like the air escaping when you're walking around the bush. If there's any leaks, usually leaks happen. Basically, like let's say you didn't empty your lines before the frost, like the freeze, then and the sap freezes in the line.
Right.
Then like usually leaks happen there, and lots of times like just the spile just pops off, right? So you need to go back and then have the spile back in the hole. So once you do that, then then you go to the evaporator. If you have enough water, you start boiling. And what people don't understand, like lots of people think is like when you're making maple syrup, like you just go around the evaporator, drink beer, and do that all day. But there's lots of
Science.
There's lots of cleaning to do and stuff, and just the evaporator, like a wood-fired evaporator, it takes like an hour before it gets going. Like you can actually get like some type of like roll going. Like, anyways, for ours is like it's like a decent size. Like it's not like a little one, so it's not like you can't get it started really quick.
Right.
But basically, it takes like an hour to just get it started. Once it gets started, then you got to have someone beside the evaporator all the time to feed with wood, obviously.
Yes.
If you have a oil fired, the oil is always constant, so it's always like a constant cook. But with wood, you always have to have someone beside it to feed it and stuff, so you have sort of like a constant heat source. And you got to check the bricks, right? Check the bricks, see where it's at. Obviously, you're not always perfect. Like,
so you have to tell the listeners what the bricks are. By the way, I see one of my cousins, Jordy, came on there. He's one of the guys down in the area where we would make maple syrup when I was a kid.
Yeah, so bricks is basically just like, let's say like energy is measured in joules.
Right.
So bricks is basically sugar content. So maple syrup is, to be qualified as like maple syrup, like this like substance, it needs to be at 66% sugar content.
Right.
66.6, I believe. And if it's under 66.6, then it's not, I wouldn't really consider it maple syrup. Like, just scientifically, that's what it is.
Right.
And if it's over, like, I mean, if you have everybody, like, you can't always be perfect, right? Like, let's say, like, you have maple syrup that's at, like, 68 bricks, 69 bricks, 70 bricks, then basically the customer is getting a good deal because he's getting more sugar to water ratio, right? But that can, if your syrup is too thick, like it's got too much bricks in it, that can cause problems. Like you'll have like a little sugar depot at the bottom
crystals,
of your bottle, crystals. So that's so once you get evaporating and stuff, I guess you boil all day. And then after you boil and the guests go away, then that's when the real work comes in. That's where my dad, like, sometimes you basically so you're done boiling and everything, and then all the guests go, and then now you're left alone to do the cleanup. So the cleanup takes like an hour and a half. Cleaning the pans, cleaning all your equipment
filters,
that you use.
Filters,
and the filter gets like, honestly,
I know,
you would not believe how much sand is in maple syrup. Like, honestly, I need to document that. Like there's a crazy amount of sediment in maple syrup. Like last year was a really bad year for sediment. There was so much sediment in our filters. Like, it was crazy.
And you know what? Like people would not believe that. Like, for example, I used to teach science and stuff, and I would tell kids, we teach them about water systems in grade 8 and how water droplets form, about how the moisture condenses in a cloud, but it has to have something to condense around, and it's a particle of dust. I said, so when you're eating that snow, you're actually eating dirt. So when you got maple syrup and it's unfiltered, you're eating dirt. Like, believe it or not, the trees are, with the water that they draw out of the soil through capillary action. We were talking about this the other night. They're bringing dirt along with them.
Oh yeah, my mom's classic drink is just like when guests come over. It's like it's called, in French it's called a réduit, so it's like a reduced sap, right?
Yeah.
And it's hot and stuff. My mom calls it hot maple sap, but in French it's actually called a réduit. And basically it's just like just take a mug and you take the sap from like the mid part, so like it's almost finished but it's not finished, and it's unfiltered, right? So there's like, once you drink it, like there's sediment at the bottom, but like a real réduit, you put a little bit of you spike it a little bit.
For sure. Well, you know what?
Oh yeah.
There's the Vermonter's Cold recipe, which is like equal parts maple syrup and gin heated up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you need to have fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the other things, because when I was on your while I was waiting for your live to go live and for me to join, I was like checking out the recipe section, and it's like, you know what? There's a lot more you can put maple syrup on than pancakes and French toast.
Yeah.
We were talking about this, I put it in spaghetti. I put it on everything when I eat breakfast. Pretty much anything that sugar can go in, you can put it in coffee, tea. You know, one of my favorite things is having pierogies with.
Really?
Breakfast, yeah. And you know what? I make these where I had to travel to Florida for a wedding a year ago this past December, and I've never been down to Florida really. My parents have a house that I finally got to visit in 30 years because I like winter. And I found in some restaurants that I had heard of as the Waffle House or Jimmy Dean's or something like that. They have these things called breakfast bowls. So I make up my own. I get sausages. I have friends who hunt, and so I get these nice venison sausages. I cook them up, and then I put potatoes in. I cook up the potatoes and onions and green onions, and then I'll scramble eggs into the mix and then I put a little bit of cheese over top, and then I drench it in maple syrup. Oh my gosh!
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you taught me something the other day when we were on the call. You taught me you're like hot dog boiled in sap.
Yep.
And then I told that to my dad. And he was like, "Yeah, obviously."
Yeah.
But I guess I'm too young to know that because we're in the clean revolution era. So
there's standards now.
I guess we can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So when I was growing up and I'd be in my Uncle Kenny's farm and he'd go and help a friend evaporate if we couldn't get to it. So we'd finish chores. We'd be milking cows, and we'd grab like a dozen hot dogs and buns and something to drink and go back to the sugar bush. And we'd get a bucket of hot sap and we throw the hot dogs in and throw it in the evaporator and let them boil a little bit. And then we'd have hot dogs right there beside the evaporator. And so when I was talking to Jeremy's dad, he was like, "Oh, yeah, we did that too, but we can't do it now because of the standards."
Yeah, I mean.
So kids these days, you miss out, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I mean, you can do it. You just can't.
Well, you know what?
You can throw.
I was just gonna say, just grab a pan and start a little fire and put some sap in there and do it that way. Right. Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Does it give it? So I had a question. Like, are your hot dogs a little bit sweeter when you do that, or?
I can't remember.
No. And does it affect? Does it give it like a nice little meaty taste to the syrup, or no?
I have no. Well, you know what? We're just in sap, right? It's just straight sap. Yeah.
And did you throw away the sap?
Yes.
Or did you keep boiling?
No. We tossed it. Yeah, because the hot dogs would have all sorts of crap in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and
maybe that should be a new infusion. We should bottle
maple infused hot dogs.
Yeah, that would be. I mean.
So what sorts of products? We talked earlier in podcast about your rye barrel-aged maple syrup, your bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup. For Valentine's Day, you had some special maple syrup chocolates, right? And tell me the story behind that. Tell me the story behind that, because somebody said it wasn't going to go.
Yeah, we partnered with the chocolate place, and basically they put our maple butter in their chocolates, and good combo. Like, I know I talked to a few chocolate places around here, and basically they told me that they don't think maple syrup and chocolate goes well together. I guess maybe because the texture, like the hard chocolate and like more of like a syrup substance.
Right. They've obviously never had a cherry blossom then.
Yeah, cherry blossom. Yeah, my grandma, she loves cherry blossoms. I just give them to her. She puts it in the fridge for like a day, and then the next day it's like nice and crispy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Because when we were listening to your live broadcast last week, and you had mentioned that, my wife looked at me and she said, "Maple and chocolate? Like, who said that wouldn't go?"
Yeah, some chocolate places they're like, I don't know, maple syrup, and it's because maybe they tried it before and that didn't work. But they didn't like the maple syrup, like you put maple syrup in a chocolate, so when you crack it open, like it starts oozing out. But I find maple butter in a chocolate is even better than syrup. I mean, maple butter is only one ingredient; it's only maple syrup, right? So same thing, but just transformed. So
now I saw in your feeds or in your story there, you're doing a cinnamon maple cream.
Yeah, cinnamon maple butter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I'll tell you guys the recipe. So basically, same recipe as like if you would make regular maple butter, right? Like you boil. So I actually made it myself today. I make maple. Honestly, I like making maple butter. Like it's a labor of love. And once you kind of nail, like you know exactly what you're supposed to do with a machine. Like it's easy. It's really easy. So basically, how we make our maple butter is I'll tell you how we make our cinnamon maple butter. So basically, to make maple butter, you need to so the boiling temp, like the boiling temp of water, is like it's supposed to be 100 degrees Celsius.
Right.
But you're a science teacher, right? Atmospheric pressure changes it up, right? Every single day, there's always a different atmospheric pressure.
Yep.
So the syrup or the water boils at a different temperature. So today, like our maple butter, like I set the thermometer to be ready at 231.3.
Right.
Since basically I boiled water beforehand,
yep.
and it was at 211.3. So I just do it was at 210.3. So I just do 21 degrees over that.
Right.
So it was at 231.3. That's when your butter is ready. Because every day it can change, right? Like some
yep.
days you get like some days your butter is ready at 232, other days ready at 230.5.
Yep. So
yeah, today it was ready at 231.3, and basically what we do, I get a 10 liter jug of maple syrup because we do 10 liters at a time, and I have 2 pots on the stove going at once, and then I equalize them, and then I get them going at the same time, and then once I put about we use cinnamon sticks to infuse our
right.
maple butter. So basically, like when it's hot, right? Like the particles are moving and stuff, so it's easy to do an infusion. So
yep.
what we do is I just throw I think we put today I put 15. It's about 15 cinnamon sticks per 5 liters.
Yep.
So I put 15 in there, 15 in the other one, and then I let it boil. And then once it hits at 227 degrees, it's pretty close. I use a strainer. I strain the cinnamon sticks out, and then it keeps cooking. And then we have a little water bath, like a really cold water bath with ice packs in it.
Yeah.
That's already set. And then once it's at 231.3, take it off the stove, put it in the ice bath, and then once that happens, it just cools. And then I let it cool down all the way to 90 degrees. Once it's at 90 degrees, I put it in the machine, and then you got maple butter.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Some people leave it overnight, but
right.
I find the maple butter is a lot easier to put in the machine when it's at 90 degrees is the perfect temperature for me, and you can do it in it takes us about so it takes an hour and a half to boil it down
right.
for 10 liters, and then put in the water bath, and then you can do something else for an hour, and then once it's at 90 degrees, then put in the machine, and then once you basically make it go through the machine a couple times, and then put them in the jars, and then label them. That's another hour. So it takes about 3 hours to make a batch of maple butter,
right.
50 gram jars. So
nice.
It's I like doing it. So yeah.
And so the machine that you put it in, does it whip it?
It's like a hopper. Basically just you've got just put the your taffy in it, because we're
yeah.
making taffy when we make maple butter.
Yeah.
And then it just goes. I should document that, but it basically it's like a circuit. It just goes
okay.
up and kind of like creamed honey. I think they use the same machine.
right.
They just put their honey in there, and then you'll see it starts changing colors, and
right.
yeah,
that's cool. Any other products that you're thinking of coming down the line?
Coming down the line, I was actually thinking about it today. It would be a chai, maybe a chai infused maple syrup, or a chai maple butter. Chai is basically cinnamon, cardamom, all these
yeah.
different spices. I really like Starbucks, a chai latte. That's really good.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that. I don't really know how we would infuse it, since when we did the cinnamon one, the cinnamon one is pretty it's pretty easy to
right.
pretty easy to do. You use cinnamon sticks, so you don't even have a powdery
right.
there's no powder in here. You won't use the maple butter and see that there's like a cinnamon powder, you just taste the cinnamon since it's infused, and then we take the cinnamon sticks out and the cinnamon flavor stays in there.
Yeah. Well, it's like Indian cooking. They don't use ground cinnamon. They use cinnamon sticks, right? So
yeah. So like with the chai one, since it's a bunch of spices mixed together, I don't know how we could pull that off. Maybe we haven't even tried a tea bag yet. Like you could just put a bunch of different spices in a tea bag, and basically when your maple syrup is hot, like you could just put it in there. Like we tried to do, we attempted to do a chipotle infused maple syrup.
Yeah.
Like a spicy one, but we basically, I don't think we did the chipotle peppers right. Like we basically bought like jalapeno peppers from the grocery store and aged them until they, like, jalapeno peppers, when you buy them from the grocery store, they're like green.
Yeah.
And then they like turn red.
That's right.
If you leave them. Yeah. So that's what we did. Put them on the barbecue, like kind of like homemade smoked them.
Yeah.
And and then I don't think we did the smoking process right, to be completely honest. And then we put some in it, like we tried to infuse it in the maple syrup just for a test. And
do you guys have a smoker at home?
No.
Oh,
no,
I have a smoker. So you know what? And we grow peppers. So you know what? Next year, when growing season's going on, I'll grab a bunch of peppers and I'll smoke them and I'll bring them up to you.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know what? When you were talking about the maple chai latte at my cottage in the eastern townships of Quebec in the little town of Ayers Cliff, there's a little cafe, and the woman makes, my wife loves chai latte, and she makes this chai latte, and Sean loves it. And the key ingredient, maple syrup.
Nice.
She says that's the only difference in the recipe that, she uses. She substitutes maple syrup for it. It's really good.
Yeah. The thing is with, like, I find, like, the thing that's tough with maple syrup and like the coffees and stuff, I kind of use it like as a sweetener.
Right.
But it's tough to like really showcase the maple flavor unless you use like maple sugar to top it off or something. But because you need to you're gonna have a really, really sweet coffee if you want it to have like a maple flavor.
Oh,
if you
for
use
sure.
Maple syrup.
Yeah.
So I kind of use it more of like a natural sweetener.
Yeah.
And it's a good sweetener because compared to like white sugar and stuff, like I know my grandpa when he was alive, like he would just basically every single morning use maple syrup in his coffee rather than white sugar. That's just a habit of his. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I growing up and being around all the old timers on my uncle's farm and stuff, you know what? During the Depression back in the 1930s, the people who lived out in the country, just like now in the pandemic, they don't really have as many problems with food security as people in the city who have to depend on going to the grocery store. They out in the farm, they had cows, so they had milk and butter. They had meat. They could grow pigs and chickens and that sort of stuff, slaughter them. They had all the vegetables that they could grow. And for sweeteners, if you had a maple bush, you had natural sweeteners,
Yeah.
All right. Here's a question for you. Do you see yourself continuing in the maple business? Like whenever I would teach in my career in the beginning of the year, I would always ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah. This is a civics and careers question. This is like the culminating path to civics and careers. Yeah.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
Honestly, right now, like last year, I was all into like physiotherapy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like I'm into hockey and stuff. So I was kind of like into like the fitness world.
Yeah.
Kind of like really, really hard in the fitness world. And then honestly, I just fell in love with the business part of it. Like I love being like I love the business side of things.
Yep.
So being able to help support my dad's business with that type of being an asset, doing that, like doing all the business stuff and the PR stuff. Like I like doing that.
Yep.
So I really want to keep going and like branch out. Like you can see, like now we're not just in maple syrup anymore. Like we have candles now. Like we carry the old jar Candle Co. Sugar Shack maple candles. So I mean, I kind of want to make it like we're like the main thing is maple syrup, but like I want to make it like we're gonna be all things maple. So like you might not even want to buy like maple syrup off of us, but you might want to buy like cool candle off of us. Maybe like
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like something like we might start getting jams.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, like lots of stuff like that are kind of like gourmet and niche.
Yeah.
That are really like cool and just that do good online, and that's what I like doing. Like that, I like the thing is with me, like
You like being
future,
an entrepreneur.
Like, yeah, I have a passion in like creating like stories, creating like a brand, like doing like I want it to mean something. Like that's why like I'm all over like social media and stuff because like I'm not doing it because it's a chore. I'm doing it because I like it. Like every time like when I see you reacting to my stories, I'm like, let's go, and I just go on and I engage. So like that's so in the future, like right now, as of right now, obviously it can change, but because like life changes and stuff. But as of right now, like I would love to go in like either like business, marketing, and eventually like doing this. I really like it. I'm open to a bunch of different stuff, but yeah, I just want to grow this to see where it can like take us, right? Like, I mean, like, you never know where something can take you, and it's only been like we've only been actually like putting effort into it for like a year now, and I feel like we're growing like pretty well. Like we're doing a decent job. Like, so every day I'm learning something new. So, but well,
that you know what?
But
that's
basically like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like. Our goal isn't really like my goal anyways for this isn't really to, like my dad said, it's not really to become like the biggest maple producers and selling loads of barrels like a year. Like we don't want to do that. What we want to do is basically we only have 1,000 taps, right? So we basically just want to do like cool products like with the 1,000 taps that we have. Just try to figure out, you know, like how to make it as cool as possible with the little amount that we have, and branch off with other cool different products. So marketing is an excellent career for you, I think. You know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into like I don't really like sales part of it. That's not. I don't know. I don't like the sales part of it since I don't like always asking and stuff. If you want to be a car salesman when you're older, like there's no way I want to be a car salesman or like a real estate agent. Like I just don't see myself being that type of guy. But like doing like
help build the brand,
being able to talk to people and really study people, like study the trends and stuff. That's what I like doing. And I really have like I don't know. I found like a passion for like kind of like photography, like. If you look at my posts from last year, like they were not even close to what they look like now. Like now I'm starting to have the eye for like kind of cool stuff, and it seems to be picking up. So it's cool. Yeah. That's
awesome. Cool. So tell us, where can people find you? Obviously, people on here watching this right now know where they can find you. So do you have a presence on Facebook at all?
Yeah, we have 2 Facebook pages. So we have Red Mill Maple Syrup, and then we have Sugar Rush Maple Bush, that's what we were named before, but then we didn't change the name on Facebook. But it's still our Facebook page. Yeah.
Cool. And you're obviously on the interweb, right?
Yeah. Just search up Red Mill Maple Syrup in Google. I think everybody's got Google. Yeah. And our info is gonna pop up. So.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to. I mean, you don't need to if you don't want to.
Oh yeah, man. That's why we're doing this. Yeah. That's why we're doing this. Yeah, this is a pretty.
I'm just doing this because this brings me. This makes me happy just to be able to talk. Like.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, well, you know what I thought. A friend of mine says, what are you doing in the pandemic? Time to make yourself better. And I was like, I started this podcast, right? And so you did your live show last week, and we were talking, you were answering some questions, and some people would ask some questions. I'd throw some answers out there for them. And I was like, hey, I do a podcast. Would you be interested? And so actually this podcast is being recorded, and I'll put it out, and I'll put a link out, and I'll send it to you and tag you in it when it probably come out next week, early next week. And but then you were the guy who came up and said, "Hey, we should do an Instagram live thing." So it's like, yeah, this
good content.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is awesome.
It gives me I love it when I just love it when you have content, because like, I mean, it gives the people that are watching something to look at, like two guys talking back and forth to each other. I mean, it's a lot less awkward than sometimes I go live and I'm alone and I'm just waiting on people to answer. I'm like, is this gonna happen or what? And then when people answer, it starts getting fun. But it's just fun to have a presence, right? That's cool.
I know. I felt my friend was like that, because I'm a moderator on a big Facebook page based out of Salt Lake City, and he owns a ski shop, a movie company, and a magazine. And so we're trying to figure some things out that I got started at the beginning of the pandemic. With all my skier friends. It started locally and then grew to a guy in Oregon and then some other guys. And then we had one night, there was a few of us from Ontario on it. My buddy Jarl from Eugene, Oregon, Rick from Golden, Colorado. My buddy Josh in Salt Lake City. And then there was a guy another night, he's from Australia. So we're all sitting talking about the type of skiing we do, and most of us are drinking beer. The guy in Australia, he's eating breakfast. But it was pretty cool. Yeah. So Josh,
cool. You travel.
What's that?
You seem to have traveled the world then, if you know all these people from all over the place. No,
I don't. I'm not a big fan of airports, so I've just traveled a little bit within North America. So. Yeah, but that's what social media will get you, right? Facebook and that sort of stuff. I do have some other experiences that I've met a lot of people because of what I was doing. So, and they're from around the world. Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting. But yeah, it was really cool to do this.
Yeah, I'm honestly, like, that's what I'm thinking about it. Like, podcasts are like really in right now. Like, it's really like a big trend. Like, you see podcasts popping up everywhere. Because everybody's just so used to listening to songs on the radio, and I feel like they're missing like the person to person like interaction.
Right.
So I just love going on podcasts and just cool podcasts. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to start like a live show, or I wouldn't do a podcast. I think I would do more like a live show like this. And just have like people request to join and just talk.
Well, see, that's what my buddy Josh and I and this other guy Travis are trying to figure out. So when Josh was on doing the Facebook Live, it's the first time he's ever done this. And so I messaged him. I said, let me know when you're on. So anyways, I didn't hear from him. I get on the page. There he is, all by himself. So I joined right away, and it's like, yo, Josh, and he goes, oh, Keith. And then a couple other people joined, and then, more people joined afterwards. He was just testing things just to see how things went.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's bad when you're doing a live thing and you're the only one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It gets pretty awkward.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up. So I want to thank you very much for being a guest on the Skippy Report. And you can find that on Podbean right now, and on my Facebook page, Keith Woods. So that's how I usually get it out there. But thanks so much, Jeremy, for being a guest and coming up with this innovative way to enhance the Skippy Report and Red Mill maple syrup, man.
Oh yeah, I hope you got a couple followers from it, and I just want to say thank you very much for thinking of me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so cool to be able to like branch out and meet people that are as cool as you. And there should definitely be a part two.
If my kids oh yes, that's right. What? I was just gonna say
there should definitely be everybody should stay tuned for a part two Skippy Report with
the old guys,
which is my dad.
Yeah.
With the owner.
Yeah.
And that'd be pretty cool.
And possibly an owner of another sugar bush too, right?
Yeah, with Mike Mitchell.
Yeah,
we need to do
I'll have to hit him up. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you need to hit him up. I love Mike, man. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you take it easy, and thanks for doing the Skippy Report, man.
Hey, thank you.
And thanks for everybody else for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you for the. Yeah, thank you. This is awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, have a good one.
Yeah, you
have
too.
a good night, eh?
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Skippy Report.